What's up everyone, Mark here, and today we are finishing up the month of pies with banana cream. A very simple pie, bananas, vanilla custard, blind baked pie shell. Again, using the same pie crust recipe, tried and true, that we've been using all along. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a minute to thank you all so much for continuing to watch these videos and continuing to show your support, which by the way you can by giving a thumbs up or even a thumbs down, and comment below. Most of all, I want to hear from you. Tell me what you think of the recipe, tell me if you have any variations that you like to do, or just say hello if that's all you want. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the red button down below the video or the watermark over in the corner. When you do, make sure you hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I have a new video out. All right, let's get right into the recipe. All right, our ingredients for today are a half a cup of sugar, a quarter of a cup of cornstarch, a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. We have 2 cups of whole milk, 3 egg yolks, 1 tablespoon of butter, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, about a half to 3/4 of a cup of heavy whipping cream, and 4 tablespoons of powdered sugar. And this is just for the whipped cream topping. That's why it's a little variable. Depends, how much you like. Of course, we also have bananas, 4 ripe bananas, 4 or 5 ripe bananas. You don't want them to be mushy. You do need to be able to slice them. And of course, our pie crust. Again, this is the same pie crust that we have made a million times now, starting with the chicken pot pie, because it is not going to be baked a second time. It's a custard pie, rather than the typical 15 or so minutes, 15-20 minutes. It's going to be more like 20-30 minutes to make sure that it's baked all the way through. Again, the instructions in the recipe are below, and you can reference any of the earlier videos where we made this same exact pie crust. So the first thing we need to do is add our sugar, our cornstarch, and salt to a bowl. Now this can either be a double boiler, or in my case, we're just going to get a pot of water boiling, and I'm using a heat-safe Pyrex bowl over that. You can use a glass bowl or a metal bowl. And I just want to whisk this together. We'll wait for that to come up to temperature. And I'm going to slowly start to mix in the milk. You just kind of want to make sure everything is fully dissolved so we don't end up with any lumps. Just about reaching a boil now, so we'll start. And we're just going to kind of keep whisking this until it starts to thicken. We may switch to the rubber spatula if it starts to thicken a lot. But once it's thickened, we're going to continue to cook and mix for an additional 10 minutes. Seems like a lot, but that's really what's necessary to get a custard that is going to set. Now, you may have to adjust the temperature a bit. I'm going to kind of put this at medium. By sound, if you're using a clear glass bowl, then you can kind of see the water underneath, but you want to keep it at a good boil, but not so much that you've got steam and hot water sputtering out the sides at you, so just be careful. Keep it moving, especially in the beginning while it's thickening. You can see it has thickened up nicely, or it's at least started to. And you have to be patient with this. It did take a bit. It was probably about 15 or 20 minutes just to get to this point. And we still want this a little bit thicker. You can see this is finally starting to thicken up into a more pudding-like consistency. So this is where we're going to want to have it go for 10 minutes longer. It'll thicken up a little bit more in that time. But we're going to just keep it going over rapidly boiling water for an additional 10 minutes, and then we'll add our egg yolks. Okay, I think we are good here. So next, I'm going to just lightly beat our egg yolks. I'm going to take a little bit of the hot liquid and mix this in with the yolks, just to temper them. Maybe a little more. At the same time, I'm going to keep this moving. I'm going to add this into the rest of the mixture. And get this combined. And just continue to stir this and cook it for a couple additional minutes to cook the yolks. Looking pretty good. I'm going to add the butter, which is softened just to make it a little bit easier to melt in, and the vanilla. And we just want to make sure this is combined and that the butter is entirely melted and combined with the custard, and we don't have a knob of butter still floating around in there. All right, and we are done. So we are going to take our custard base off the heat. And we're just going to need to let this cool completely, at least to room temperature, before we work with it to build our pie. You can cool it in the refrigerator if you like. The longer you let it sit, and possibly in the refrigerator particularly, you'll end up with a skin on the top. Which isn't great. It's not terrible, but it doesn't hurt anything. But we are going to let this cool. I'll get a few things cleaned up, and we will come back and proceed when this is ready to go. Okay, so our filling has cooled to room temperature. I did not refrigerate it. I covered it with a damp towel, clean kitchen towel, wet and then wrung out, just to kind of help moderate the humidity in there so that it wouldn't form a skin. And because if I'd use plastic wrap or something, condensation would have formed and kind of dripped and made little puddles of water on top, which wouldn't be great. So the first thing we're going to do is get a little bit of our custard, at least, into the bottom of the prepared pie shell. Enough to kind of get things coated. And you can do one layer of bananas and then kind of put all of the custard on top of it and then refrigerate, or I'm going to try and do a couple of layers here at least. But we'll see how it goes. I've got 4 bananas if I need them, but I may not even need quite that much. The bananas I've got here today are kind of on the larger side to begin with, so the normal estimate of 4 or 5 bananas is probably a little high in this case. right, more custard. And the next layer of bananas. Probably going to do 2 or 3 layers altogether with some additional on the top. And again, more custard. We'll do 1 more layer of bananas and then the last of the custard. And what do you know? Maybe we'll use all 4 bananas. And the rest of the custard over the top. All right, so for this last layer, that's going to really just go around the top. I cut them a little thinner. These are going to kind of be exposed. Now, if it concerns you a ton that these are going to kind of turn brown, if you don't like the look of that, and it's perfectly fine when they do, you can brush these with a little bit of lemon juice, and that'll kind of help prevent the banana from oxidizing and turning brown, but they're going to discolor a little bit almost no matter what you do. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna clean a couple of things up and we're gonna come back and make our whipped cream. Okay, last thing to do is make our whipped cream topping. So 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of heavy whipping cream into the blender. If you have a blender that's powerful enough to do this, then great. If not, you can absolutely do this with a hand mixer. You're just whipping cream. That's really it. So we're gonna whip this until it's smooth, soft peaks-ish, before we add our sugar. About 15-20 seconds. And you can see that it is starting to thicken up. Sugar goes in. Scrape this down one time and hit this one final time just to make sure that we've got a nice thick whipped cream. Okay, that should be good. Now we are just going to spread our whipped cream all over the top of the pie and out to the edge of our banana border. All right, now this needs to set up completely in the refrigerator for, I'd say at least 4 hours. Overnight might be better. I'll let the flavors kind of really meld together. This sort of pie is always better when you give it kind of an overnight sit in the fridge to let everything sort of come together into one nice cohesive pie. So we're gonna let this sit for a while and chill, and we will come back and taste when it is ready. All right, well, I'm impatient, so I'm tasting this now. It's been about 3.5 hours. It seems mostly cold. It's been in the refrigerator. I hope that we get a sliceable pie and something more like a pie than a scoopable banana pudding. But let's dig in. A little bit messy. How do we look? That crust is amazing. Essentially, all we did here was make vanilla pudding from scratch. And vanilla pudding from scratch is far superior to vanilla pudding from a box. So yeah, it's vanilla pudding with bananas in it and a buttery pie crust. There are just so many layers of banana. You're not missing the banana flavor in this pie whatsoever. I mean, look at that. That bottom crust. All right, I've got to resist the urge for seconds. Not a bad way to wrap up month O pies, if you ask me. Guys, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and tell me what you think down in the comments. And if you didn't, then give it a thumbs down and tell me what you think down in the comments. If you tried this recipe or a similar recipe, tell me about that too. That's it for this one. We'll see you next time.